Chill the fuck out. Wow, Lil Reese. So there's a photo of Lil Reese in jail. Oh, man, I hope Lil Reese gets everything together. Okay, let me see what else is going on. We talked about this already. Okay. Lil Zay Osama has spoken. Has he? Okay. So people are wondering if Lil Zay Osama has cooperated. They're wondering if he told, right? And apparently he is clowning people because if you don't know the news has came down. And I do want to give you a run through real quick. Lil Zay Osama was sentenced to 14 months in a federal prison for having a switch in an Uber, and he was fined $10,000. We do have all the documents here about the proceeding, including the indictment and everything else. I do want to play this video, however, first of all, and if you don't know the background, essentially Lil Zay Osama came to New York, had a gun, and it was an unregistered gun. There was a serial number, so it wasn't defaced or nothing. And I guess the Uber got pulled over, and the police found, allegedly, he, dropped the gun because, he had a gun on him. And they found the gun in the Uber. Obviously, he was going to say, well, it wasn't my gun. Mad people riding the Uber. They still, however, took him to jail, and apparently the Uber driver, obviously, as you can imagine, cooperated, right? This was a video because he was on live when the whole thing happened. Watch this.
Hey, what up? It's Lil Zay Osama in the trench, baby.
Here we go.
What's going on? I just got a call. Hold on.
What's happening?
I don't know. What's going on?
Yeah, this is the face of every nigga that know they guilty but just acting like, yo, what's going on?
What's happening?
Put your hands behind your back.
Put your hands behind your back. What happened? We're gonna sort it all out. We're gonna sort it all out. What is going on? We're gonna sort it all out. I'm the manager. I'm just he's being detained right now. So back up. I'm just.
You get my phone though?
Yeah, you got anything on you? I get his phone.
I'm on live, sir. Cut that off.
Okay, perfect. So, great. So, all right. So that basically happened. He got locked up, and I remember really briefly, me and him, we actually got into this slight back and forth almost, because I ain't gonna lie, I think a lot of people thought he was damn near cooked, right? Like, yo, this guy is sauteed. Now, here we go. This is what he said to me. This was about 2 years ago, right? And he says, yo, me personally leaving a gun in an Uber, he's like, think about it, LOL. I never said I did that, right? Stop saying I did, because if I did, DNA would have been on the gun and they would have found me with it. Nigga case has been dismissed. Now, what he's talking about with the case being dismissed is that the local courts, which was state court, picked it up, but then they essentially dropped it, which you should probably know. We've covered a bunch of this stuff by now. You get caught with what they're going to call a machine gun because he has a switch on it. So it's a Glock. It was a Glock 22 with a switch. Yeah, they're not going to just drop that. So they dismissed the case, but the feds picked it up later. But this was before the feds picked it up. So he was like, Ak, you said I left the gun in Uber. You never said allegedly. You said talking about taking responsibility for some shit I ain't mine. So I ain't leave it. You keep throwing power in the air, saying you're in my career. I got this far without you, blah, 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 da, 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 whatever. And I forgot what we got into about, but who cares? The point is that he later got indicted, right? And his indictment papers are here. And essentially what happened is that, I'll show you. Hold on. The way how he got indicted is that an ATF agent, and this is an ATF agent right here. Let me just show you. Which, by the way, this is how everybody with a switch. So for everybody who be carrying around a switch or bragging that you have a switch, this is exactly what's going to happen. You're going to catch two cases. You're going to get a case from a state, and especially if you're loud enough that everybody knows about you. Now, granted, they're catching people with switches all over. So the feds don't indict everybody with a switch. But if you're a no name, they're going to indict you, right? So this whole case started This is the guy who started the case. He's an ATF agent. He's being duly sworn. Deposes and states he's a special agent with the Bureau of, this is ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms and explosives. And eventually says Isaiah Dukes, which is Zay Osama, had, knowing that he was previously convicted of a court punishable by more than a year, which means he's a felon, did have a loaded Glock 22 40 caliber with the serial number and that he possessed a machine gun, which means that he had a switch device affixed. Okay, so he wrote up the whole thing. Then the grand jury came back, and the grand jury also affirmed it, or not affirmed it, but they indicted him. And essentially, in last year, was it last year? I think last year. Last year, he pled guilty. So he changed his plea from not guilty to guilty because, again, you don't want to go to trial with the state. They're going to bring the Uber driver. They're going to bring, if there was cameras around, they're going to bring you getting into the car, someone else. Everybody who got in and out the car, like New York City is just filled with all type of cameras. And he was going to face a long time. Anyway, he changed his plea from innocent to guilty. And essentially, this was the decision by the judge. He got, here we go, right here. Sentencing was held on November 7th, and they appeared on behalf of Zay Osama, for the reasons stated on the record, the defendant was sentenced on his plea of guilt, count one of the indictment, to 14 months with credit for time served. So he's going to be out, he's going to be with credit for time served. Okay, so he's going to be out soon. And a year of supervised release, an additional condition noted on the record. The court also imposed a fine of $10,000 and a mandatory $100 special assessment fee. Anyway, and count 2 was dismissed. So really, he's only indicted for having an unregistered gun. Yeah, that's actually that's a really good plea. So essentially, they didn't go forward with the machine gun shit, which that's kind of shocking, right? Which, you know, if when someone has a switch, let me show you what that punishment for having machine gun, federal, ATF. Look, transfer of possession. Let me see, years. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how long. Okay. No, this is prohibited. Prison sentence for. Okay, 10 years. Okay, yeah. Unregistered machine gun, 10 years. So he was facing up to 10 years. The thing that people don't realize is that the feds have like also a point system kind of. And, I think this is, he had another run-in with the law before federally because I looked up all the stuff. But this wasn't an insane plea. His lawyer, shout out to Dawn Florio. I got to give his lawyer, Dawn Florio, some credit. She cut this like deal for him. So he pled guilty. He didn't really put the feds through too much. He pled guilty to the first one, which is having an unregistered gun. They dropped the machine gun part, which is the switch part. And they're just giving him pretty much like damn near, they wanted to give him like 2 years, right? And that's kind of what he got. Now, granted, what people don't realize is that the penalty, right? The penalty for having an unregistered gun is actually lesser than if he had gotten charged via the state. So New York is tougher on having guns. Clearly, you could imagine that, right? The feds, they got to go by the Constitution. People have the right to bear arms, right? That's number one. So they're not going to go too crazy. Unregistered, yeah, facing up to 10. But when you talk about New York State, or New York City, actually, New York City prison term gun, they're usually a little bit harder. They usually do, and this is, we're not even talking about a felon, right? They usually do, they'll say for the first one, like up to 4 years, but they'll give you like 4 years, You know what I mean? So that's why people are like, it's really tough to get caught in New York City. The feds won't give you the whole thing. So pretty much he cut a good deal. And I'm guessing he's saying, yo, I'm not doing that long of a time. And now he's explaining it. Because what's happening is that I think Wack 100 is looking into if he snitch. Yo, Wack is terrorizing all these guys. Every 20 seconds, Wack will be like, yo, yo, let me tell you this. Yo, these street niggas gotta hate Wack. Because, or it's two ways. Street niggas gotta hate Wack, or Wack gotta hate the streets now. I'm gonna tell you why. Because anybody who gets out of jail early, I think Wack looks at him like, you probably told. Like, you know what I mean? Yo, if they gave you 99 years and you got out in 97, yo, nigga, you told, bro. You must have told. Like, so Wack be on everybody's head that's not getting, like, the maximum penalty. Which I'm like, shit, do your thing, Wack. Anyway, he's reacting to Wack saying, how the fuck are you getting out when you got caught with a switch? And how are you getting out in 14 months? Now, keep in mind, remember, somehow with this plea deal, the switch part was dismissed. It's just he's only got convicted, or he's pleading guilty to having an unregistered weapon. So that's why, you see this low sentence. Anyway, he says, stop believing everything you see or hear on the internet. You really think you get 30 years for a switch? Hell nah. I don't care what state you in. Facts. But switches is dangerous and carry around 3 to 4 years, maybe less, depending on your background. But they're becoming a problem in a lot of cities, so it might be worse for you. Different strokes for different folks. I call it a blessing. Don't look at my situation and think you need a switch, because it could end bad for you. Stop playing with snitching. For real. Stop playing with snitching for real. Have 1090 Jake look up my switch case in New York. I just want to thank God my kids is entered. Yeah, again, they dismissed that. They dismissed the fact that he had an unregistered machine gun. The other thing is an unregistered firearm. Those are two separate charges, and the plea deal he took dismissed the second, which we would think is a more harsher one. And they gave him 14 months for the first one, so hey, it is what it is. Again, if he was sentenced, or if he got a state charge from New York, he would be cooked. But I think the protocol in most of these states is to turn over all these cases with switches to the government, to the feds. So let them take it. But you could tell in so many cases the feds are probably cutting deals with these guys, saying, yo, take 2 years, bro. Okay. What did Wack say? Let me hear what this nigga got to say, man. Yo, Wack be torturing these guys. Wack 100, Zay Osama. Here we go. Here we go. Listen to Wack.
Norm is not norm anymore, right? Yeah, that shit ain't in the literacy. I'm gonna let that nigga know he can get mad about it if you want. Nigga, the fact that you got 14 months in the state of New York for a switch that makes it a mandated 3 to 5 for a regular pistol, niggas is looking at you funny. And you obligated to put that.
Yeah, so there's a mandated, like, minimum. Remember, I had set up to whatever? So I think, and Wack has to just verify this on his own. New York State, or New York City, actually, they punish, like, it's actually damn near almost illegal. Obviously there's been some new things that happen with Supreme Court and stuff to kind of roll back certain things. This is the reason why, I've taken advantage of that. I got 50 guns. But if you're in the Northeast, New York, New Jersey specifically, shit, even like California, really specifically LA County, and even like not Pennsylvania, but Philadelphia, those are really dense cities. They don't want people walking around with guns. Like someone with a gun, it could be a mass shooting instantly. You get what I'm saying? So they go real hard against guns there. So I don't think what Wack realizes, New York City punishes having a gun harder than the federal government does. But the city dropped the case for the feds to pick up. And the ATF picked it up and then gave him 14 months. The only thing is, you know why people be hating Wack? Because they would want Wack to celebrate that a street nigga is getting out early. Wack be confused, like, how the hell he getting out? It's like Wack want that nigga locked up.
that work up. That's a fact.
Oh, he next on the list.
That's a fact. You obligated. Everybody know how New York is about them gun laws. It helps you gain weight.
I mean, for people that need to gain weight, that's a good snack to eat.
Criminal history. 27-year-old 2013 Duke was adjudicated juvenile delinquent in Illinois after being charged with robbery out of get a discharge firearm. 2014 Duke was adjudicated a juvenile delinquent charged with robbery, theft, aggravated battery. The underlying conduct involved incident in which Duke struck another person in the face during a robbery, causing the victim to crash his motorbike to a tree. Duke also stole the victim's cell phone.
Okay.
2017, Duke was convicted. A resisting peace officer misdemeanor. That's some bullshit. 2019, Duke was convicted in Illinois as a criminal trespass misdemeanor. Some bullshit.
All right. Bet. Yeah, so I guess he's responding to Wack. Wack is saying, how the fuck you get out? I could understand why he's getting out. Just understanding the law, the feds actually don't penalize having an unregistered gun, even though, I'm pretty sure they fought a few stipulations, and they were. Because I think he's supposedly a felon, right? Now, what's been happening, there's some real interesting shit that's happening in court, which I don't want to bore all y'all with the details. And yo, Chad, I swear, I feel like an attorney these days. I feel like a lawyer because like the amount of I feel like I'm like learning law for like 9 hours a day to get on stream to be able to explain some of the points I'm explaining. Let me explain to you what's happening right now in courts, right? So first and foremost, I know a lot of y'all hate Uncle Trump, but y'all know I'm endearing to Uncle Trump. Let me tell you what's happening. There's the reason why gun laws have relaxed a bit. So few things. Number one, Donald Trump did put on, I believe, 3 Supreme Court justices. There's 9, right? The majority lean Republican in how they view things, or they're conservatives. Republicans are usually very pro Second Amendment rights. They're pro gun rights. Okay, I'm gonna all make this make sense. I'm gonna bring Boosie in it too. Okay, so because of that, right? A lot of places that are usually liberal, and some for good reason, because I could understand why New York City doesn't want everybody running around with guns, despite what the Constitution says. The Constitution says you have the right to bear arms. But if you're running around New York City with a goddamn gun, like, you ever been to Times Square, anywhere like really populated? Like, yo, one nutcase with a gun could really fuck some shit up and kill some people, right? So I understand, like, they're like, okay, I get the Constitution, but no, y'all can't have it here. Well, a lot of people who are in belief for this is like, well, the Constitution governs all the land, not some of the land, all the land, right? And that's been an ongoing thing. So let me bring it back. So, and this is another like very misunderstood point. People are like, yo, he's taking over the Supreme Court. The way how the Supreme Court justices are the highest judges in the land, right? There's 9 of them. They make the final decision. Like, for example, Roe v. Wade, that's a decision they make that essentially every court basically adheres to that decision, and also lawmakers damn near adopt what they say as the interpretation of what is usually a constitutional right. Okay? All right. Trump never did nothing crazy. He did what every other person did, which is so these people serve for life. These 9 people serve for life, right? That's the judicial branch. They serve for life. When they retire or die, the sitting president could nominate someone to be a replacement. Now, whoever they nominate serves for life again. So again, you're just waiting for people to die, honestly, or like retire at like 80 or 70. Trump somehow magically gets to appoint 3. Okay? He appointed 3. And because now there's a right-leaning Supreme Court, people are challenging certain things that are usually conservative strongholds. For example, gun rights. So like, it's a lot of this shit's coming out of like the 5th district, which is down there in Texas. So they're sending a lot of gun shit through that's getting to the Supreme Court. But let me give you the real life ramifications of this. It's actually better. Like, it's kind of crazy how people like, for all y'all favorite rappers who love having guns, it's the reason why Boosie and them are using like Duarte and all these other things to make a point for them, because these things usually were never questioned. Boosie is a felon. If you get caught with a gun, you're supposed to go do like 7. Isn't that what happened with Gucci, or I forgot the Gucci case, but the feds usually don't play. What's happened now is because the conservatives are interpreting the Constitution, they don't look at, or the court's view of someone having a gun, felon or not, isn't that strong anymore. So what happens is that lower courts are giving out lesser sentences because they're not looking at it as bad anymore, and they're saying it's actually, compared to like constitutional rights, like everybody should have a gun. Okay, so that's partly reason why Boosie's case, the first one that got dismissed, was a federal case. He made a good point to say, yeah, I am a felon, but I wasn't a violent felon. And then, the feds have refiled to say, yeah, you're not a violent felon, but you're a felon that is an addict, and that's equally as bad. So the point what I'm trying to say here is that when you see Lil Zay Osama get this amount of time, and I know Wack 100 and certain other people can be like, is he snitching or is he not? I get that. But the reality of this is a bunch of, not necessarily politics, but court decisions that right now make it that, at least currently, and I can't swear for everybody, the federal courts are a lot more lenient on people with gun violations as in comparison to before. So if you're wondering, how does this nigga get 14 months? Didn't Gucci get... Well, obviously some stuff is, your own records and stuff, but the courts are looking at it slightly more favorable, which, again, I think, for the foreseeable future, we're going to see a bunch of people get these gun cases, and the feds are coming into a really interesting spot where they can't fully prosecute these guys for guns, right? Didn't Youngboy beat a gun case, right? Zay Osama, I'm pretty sure that AUSA was probably happy to give him that motherfucking plea deal. Yeah, the feds aren't going that crazy on guns anymore. So what's going to happen is it's going to come back to the state. The state is going to do it, or they're going to have to do it, or else, they used to look at the daddy feds to handle everything, but guns, you have a Republican Supreme Court. A lot of things are repealing a lot of gun laws, or not laws, but like prohibitions. Yeah. So now when your favorite rapper get caught with a gun, hopefully they're not sitting for 5 years. Hopefully it's like, yo, you sit for a year or a year and a half. Now, granted, it is what it is. Now, of course, there's good and bad to this, right? Because you want your favorite rapper who get caught with his handy dandy gun to get out of jail. But now when it's somebody else who's not your favorite rapper get caught with a gun, he gonna get out too. So it is what it is. Just a little explanation on why we're seeing because everybody keeps like, oh, how are these guys just getting out? Yeah, well, there's a lot of political shit that's happened that they're looking at gun crimes a little bit different. So, all right. Somebody said, did I see